On the night of our wedding anniversary, my wife shamelessly got me wasted. It wasn't until 2 in the morning that I was jolted awake by her kitten-like moans. I never imagined that after journeying from school uniforms to a wedding veil, she'd repay my devotion with a filthy betrayal on our very anniversary, caught red-handed in her act of infidelity. My wife had the audacity to demand a divorce. "Just try and grab the 100,000 in our savings," she sneered. "Because I won't give you a single cent." Hearing those words, I simply nodded my head, refusing to cause a scene or throw a fit. Instead, I double-locked those two scumbags inside the bedroom and calmly pulled out my phone to blast a message into Liu Ruyan's family group chat. "I need every elder and family member at my house immediately. Ruyan and I have something critical to discuss with everyone." The mother-in-law was quick to snap back in the chat. "You think everyone is as unemployed and idle as you? Stop wasting our time with this nonsense." Seeing her dismissive reply, rage boiled in my chest as I shot back. "I'm giving you exactly 15 minutes. If you don't show up, I'll let the whole world witness exactly what happened tonight." Though I'm tempted to drag Liu Ruyan down to hell with me. Dying together would be far too merciful for her, compared to a quick strike of a blade. Crushing someone's soul inflicts a much more agonizing brand of torment. Half an hour later, every single relative of Liu Ruyan's clan had descended upon my home. Taking the lead, my father-in-law spoke up first. "Xiaoxiang, what on earth is going on today? It's the middle of the night, yet you insisted on dragging all the family elders out here, facing their bewildered glares." I let out a bitter laugh and swung the bedroom door wide open, declaring, "Please take a good look at the precious daughter of your Liu family." At that moment, Liu Ruyan's face turned deathly pale, even though she had already scrambled back into her clothes. At 3 in the morning, a lone man and woman trapped in a room together. Even an idiot could guess the filth they'd been up to. But before I could even utter another word, Liu Ruyan went on the offensive first. "You're nothing but a pathetic, useless loser, who can't even hold down a decent job, spending every waking moment tinkering with that junk computer. Earning a pathetic $200 a day. Aren't you utterly ashamed of yourself? This entire household rests solely on my shoulders." The moment those words left her mouth, my father-in-law bellowed in a fit of rage. "What kind of absolute garbage are you spewing? Have you no sense of decency left?" Liu Ruyan's father was a retired professor, a man who prized reputation above all else. But within the Liu clan, he never held any real authority. At the end of the day, he was just a live-in son-in-law himself. Even his daughter carried his wife's family name. How much of a voice could a man like that actually have? Sure enough, before the old man could even finish his sentence, Liu Ruyan's mother lunged forward, shrieking at the top of her lungs. "My family refuses to provide for a worthless bum like you. I'm the one who paid for every inch of these renovations. Could your dirt-poor relatives ever scrape that kind of money together? No good deed goes unpunished. Now pack your trash and get the hell out." Upon hearing those venomous words, I cut her off with a sharp, chilling sneer. "What a touching performance. My dear mother-in-law truly is a piece of work. Don't worry, I'll leave. But I have one non-negotiable demand: the house. The car, the money, I don't want any of it. You don't have to give me a single cent. Just give me yuan." The old hag didn't hesitate to bark back a refusal. "You want my precious grandson? Not a chance in hell. He's the one who carries our family bloodline." Liu Ruyan's mother had shut me down with brutal finality. "After all, I've been an orphan since I was a child. So ever since my son was born, it's the Liu family who has been raising him. This situation actually lines up perfectly with my expectations. A family like the Lius, obsessed with male heirs to such an extreme, would never surrender the child so easily. As things stand, my only option is to let a lawyer handle this in court. However, I'm feeling pretty confident. No matter how they fight it, I'm destined to win. There's no way a judge would grant custody to a cheating woman like her. We're going to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Expect my lawyer to be in touch with you shortly." After dropping that bombshell, I gripped a heavy wooden club and brandished it right in front of me. The message was crystal clear. I was kicking every single one of them out. The crowd instantly scrambled like headless chickens frantic to escape. Finally, only I, Liu Ruyan, and her parents remained in the tense silence. Liu Ruyan stared at me, her face contorted and ashen, as a chilling sense of estrangement began to sink into her heart. Meanwhile, her pathetic little side piece had already seized the chaos and vanished into the night without a trace. Looking utterly helpless and cornered, she finally stammered, "Xiangyang, are you really going through with this? Are you actually serious right now? Listen, Xiaoxiang, whatever the problem is, we're family. Let's just settle this behind closed doors. There's no need to make us a laughingstock for the neighbors." My father-in-law began to chime in with his soft-spoken persuasion. If this were the old me, I would have surely taken the bait and just let the whole thing slide. But times have changed. Not a single person in this room ever gave a damn about my well-being, including this professional mediator of a son-in-law. Seeing my stubborn silence, Liu Ruyan's mother lost her patience and began to bark. "Xiangyang, fine, you want a divorce? You can have it. But first you're signing a formal agreement. In that contract, you'll state that the car, The house, the savings, and yuan all belong to Ruyan too. Hearing that, I bolted upright, grabbing that old hag by the collar, as I roared with fury. I'm going to repeat this one last time for you vultures. The car, the house, and the money, you can have it all. But Yuan is my son. And he is staying with me. Do you finally understand me now? Sang, Young, get your hands off her. That's my mother you're touching? Kyo. Liu Ruyan lunged at me, clawing and screaming. But I sent her reeling with a thunderous slap that sent her crashing onto the floor. The old man couldn't bear to watch any longer and stepped forward to lecture me. Xiaoxiang, listen. A true gentleman uses his words, not his fists. We live in a civilized society. If you injure someone, you'll end up behind bars. If you have a shred of respect left for me as your father, then let her go this instant. I slowly turned my head, staring at the old man with bloodshot, murderous eyes as I spoke. This is the very last time I'll ever call you father. How the Liu family has treated me all these years. You know the truth better than anyone. I'm not making some impossible demand. I just want my child. Is that really too much to ask? Your family can't just hoard every single advantage for yourselves. Look at it realistically. It'll be harder for your daughter to remarry with a kid dragging her down. So why the hell are you fighting me for him? Right at that moment, my mother-in-law shrieked at the top of her lungs once more. Listen here, Shang Yuanyuan is never going anywhere with you. Stop dreaming your delusional little pipe dreams. Because that boy isn't even your biological son. If you don't believe me, go get a DNA test yourself. You see it so? Those words hit me like a sudden devastating bolt of lightning. I scrambled toward Liu Ruyan, desperate for answers, hoping that the woman I'd shared my life with for years would give me the real truth. Ruyan, your mother is lying, isn't she? Yuan is my son. Right, tell me he is? However, all I received was Liu Ruyan's cold, heartless gaze. Whether he's your son or not, don't you have even the slightest clue? It's been so many years already. Shang Yang, can you stop being so pathetically naive? With that, she sprinted into the study to rummage through files, then marched back and threw a piece of paper directly in my face. See for yourself. When the boy was only a year and a half old, I already had a paternity test done for you. The results are all right there. Go ahead, take a long, hard look. Fine. So you're not even trying to hide this disgusting, sordid betrayal anymore, are you? It seems my constant endurance in the past has given this precious woman some serious delusions. But for some strange reason, after hearing Liu Ruyan's cold confirmation, I suddenly felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. I didn't even bother to glance at that paternity report, not because I lacked the courage, but because I felt it was utterly pointless. From this moment on, I could strike back without a single shred of hesitation. This entire family had just forfeited their final protective shield. Now I'm going to teach them the true meaning of despair. The next morning, Liu Ruyan was surprisingly eager to file for divorce. Naturally, the law mandates a 30-day cool-off period. But it didn't matter. I had all the time in the world to see this through. By the time everything was processed, it was already 8 p.m. Having separated from Liu Ruyan, I began scouring the house for the hidden cameras I'd installed long ago. I had been suspicious of Liu Ruyan's erratic behavior for a very long time. As for catching her in the act earlier today, it was merely a scene in a play I'd been directing. However, even the best plans can't account for everything. The fact that Yuan wasn't my biological son was a twist I truly never saw coming. For 29 grueling days, I kept myself barricaded inside that apartment, with a face now covered in thick, rugged stubble. I spent every second meticulously preparing for the next act. As the clock struck the 30th day, I calmly dialed Liu Ruyan's number. Her cold, emotionless voice crackled through the receiver. Didn't I tell you never to contact me again? I simply replied in a flat, monotone whisper. I just sent you a video. The moment those words were delivered with crystal clarity, I immediately severed the connection. In the middle of her lecture, an annoyed Liu Ruyan clicked the file open. A split second later, her entire body began to tremble uncontrollably. Thank God she had the habit of keeping her phone on silent. Otherwise, she would have suffered total social death in front of her students. The video captured her and her lover in a sickeningly intimate embrace, filmed from every conceivable angle without a single blind spot. A sudden icy chill raced down Liu Ruyan's spine, suppressing a wave of hysterical fury. She fired back a text. Zhang Yang, what the hell are you trying to do? Do you have any idea that what you're doing is illegal? A predatory smirk played on my lips as I read it, and I typed back. Come home tonight, we have a few things to discuss. Of course, you're free to ignore me and stay away. The choice is entirely in your hands. Ignoring whatever desperate response she sent next, I powered down my phone, seeing that it was still early. I headed to the supermarket to pick up some prime steak and fine red wine. Tonight I'm preparing a final candlelight dinner for my beloved wife, recreating the exact same atmosphere from the day I proposed. The clock quickly struck 6 in the evening. Liu Ruyan marched through the door, her expression cold and ashen. Seeing her, I flashed a calm, welcoming smile and said, Go wash up first. I'll pour the wine for you. Liu Ruyan shot back with utter disdain and zero interest. You think this little performance is going to move me? or make me feel like I owe you a favor. I've had an exhausting day already. Stop wasting my time, alright? Wash your hands first. We can talk after we finish the meal. My voice was firm, carrying an undeniable weight of authority. Left with no other choice, Liu Ruyan reluctantly turned and headed toward the bathroom. I walked straight to the dining table, plucked a small pill from my pocket, and dropped it into her crystal goblet. Then I filled it with the red wine I'd been letting breathe. A real man knows when to be ruthless. Mercy is for the weak. So tonight, I'll start by collecting a little interest on her debt. Under the dim flickering glow of the candles, Liu Ruyan looked at me with pure contempt and sneered. Enough already. Just name your price. Tell me exactly what your conditions are. Honey, look at how far I've fallen in your eyes. Why don't we start with a toast? Think of it as our final breakup dinner. Hearing that, Liu Ruyan suppressed her inner disgust and downed the entire glass of red wine in a single gulp. Don't even dream about getting the house, and there's barely any of the savings left. If there's something else you're after, spit it out right now. Don't waste my time. As for the property and assets, yeah, I truly have no interest in hearing about them. The person you should really be worried about is Yuan Yuan's biological father, that night shadow character. The moment those words left my lips, followed by the sharp shatter of a wine glass, Liu Ruyan lunged forward across the table. Her face contorted into a hideous feral mask as she retorted a "Nani you kid. Xiang Yang, shut your filthy mouth. If you say another word, I'll rip your damn mouth wide open." Hearing that, I erupted into a fit of hysterical laughter. That is genuinely hilarious, I mocked. Liu Ruyan, my dearest wife, have you seen how absolutely revolting you look right now? A wave of intense humiliation turned Liu Ruyan's face a deep crimson. But shortly after, an overwhelming sense of drowsiness washed over her. Watching Liu Ruyan struggle against her drooping eyelids, I wore a chilling smile as I slowly approached and wrapped my arms around her. Seeing this, Liu Ruyan fought through the fog of sleep and snarled with what little strength she had left. Get your filthy hands off me. Get the hell away from me. However, her voice grew fainter and more pathetic with every second, and within minutes she had drifted into a dead heavy slumber. I unceremoniously tossed her onto the bed, then reached into her jacket pocket to retrieve her phone. After bypassing the lock with her face, I opened her social media apps. My eyes were met with an array of class groups and professional chats. Liu Ruyan's resume was undeniably flawless. A prestigious 985 university graduate, her father a respected college professor, and her mother a retired executive from a state-owned enterprise. She herself had lived up to those sky-high expectations. At the mere age of 28, she was already a prominent counselor at Huainan University. But none of those glittering accolades matter anymore. I mass sent the video I'd shown her earlier to every single contact. Naturally, I excluded two specific individuals from the blast. One was that meathead gym rat, and the other was a particular student of hers. Exactly as I anticipated. The group chats instantly exploded into absolute chaos. By the time tomorrow morning rolls around, if not the whole country, then at the very least throughout Linhai City, Liu Ruyan is going to be the most famous socialite in town. I glanced up toward the bedroom, at my wife, who was sleeping soundly like an angel, already imagining the look of pure horror on her face when she wakes up. Suddenly, Liu Ruyan's phone buzzed with a notification. I picked it up and saw it was a message from one of her students. Counselor, are you busy right now? This pathetic little simp? The first time I ever laid eyes on him, I knew he was the ultimate beta male disciple of the friend zone king. Even at this hour, he's still dropping these brain-dead submissive questions. Glancing through his previous chat history with Liu Ruyan, the sheer volume of messages is endless. The poor guy has been hooked and played like a total fool. But I'm in no mood to deal with a bottom-tier simp right now. Instead, I navigated straight to the chat of her secret lover, Wang Tianyang. I bet he has absolutely no clue that he's about to become the most infamous man in Linhai City. I decided to trigger him with a direct message. Not asleep yet, are you? Wang Tianyang's reply flashed instantly. It's still early. I'm still at the gym grinding. Why did you miss me already? Babe, seeing the fish take the bait. I smirked and typed back. Miss you in your dreams. I'm her husband, and we need to have a little chat. Babe, this isn't a very funny joke, is she? You know. The message was followed by a nauseatingly flirty emoji. It was glaringly obvious. Wang Tianyang didn't believe for a second that Liu Ruyan was still with me. Do I look like the type of guy who cracks jokes? We'll have the divorce certificates in our hands by tomorrow morning. Tonight is officially our final night as a married couple. Don't be in such a rush. After tonight, she's all yours. Noticing his sudden, stunned silence, I sent over the photo I had just snapped. My bad. I might have played a little too hard just now, but it's already midnight. From this moment on, she belongs entirely to you. On the other end, Wang Tianyang stared at the message and the photo, feeling like 10,000 ants were crawling all over his skin. The sheer humiliation was enough to make him suffocate. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless nightmare for him. Meanwhile, I drifted back into a satisfied, peaceful slumber. My objective had been ruthlessly achieved. If I can't have a life of happiness, then we might as well all burn together in the wreckage. Early the next morning, the moment Liu Ruyan opened her eyes, she scrambled for her phone. Seeing her panic, I remarked with cold indifference, "You got wasted last night. Your phone fell into the water and won't turn on anymore." Liu Ruyan stared back at me in total disbelief. What the hell actually happened last night? Where is my phone? I know for a fact I left it in my pocket. Just calm down for a second. Calm down? How can I be calm? I have absolutely zero memory of anything you're describing. You're lying to me. Aren't you? Liu Ruyan's instincts screamed that something was horribly wrong. Yet she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Are you really so certain you weren't wasted last night? That ambiguous question left Liu Ruyan completely stumped. She remembered having 2 glasses of wine before her head started spinning. As for what happened after, it was a total blacked out void. Faced with my interrogation at this very moment, she truly didn't have a single word to fire back. Seeing Liu Ruyan looking dazed and confused, I pressed on. Are you stalling for time right now? Don't tell me you're getting cold feet about the divorce. I don't have all day to sit around and wait for you. Your phone is out on the balcony drying in the sun. Check it all you want once we get back. Everything in this place will belong to you soon anyway. Liu Ruyan snatched up her handbag in a huff and stormed out of the house first. A few hours later, we were both holding our crimson divorce certificates. My marriage with Liu Ruyan had officially reached its dead end. And almost at that exact same instant, a voice resembling a system prompt echoed in my mind. It announced, "Congratulations to the host for a successful divorce. You have been awarded a life winner fund of $3.6 million. I immediately pulled out my phone to check my banking app. Sure enough, a deposit of exactly $3.6 million had mysteriously appeared. But before I could even process this turn of events, I was suddenly swarmed by the entire Liu clan, young and old. Gazing at the aggressive, menacing crowd of Lius, I maintained a face of pure indifference. It was Liu Ruyan who seemed lost and confused. She had no idea she was already the most famous woman in the city. "Momji, what's wrong with you? Uncle, what are you all doing here?" My mother-in-law, her face twisting with malice, glared at her daughter's dazed expression. She knew deep down that this was all my handiwork. At that moment, Liu Ruyan's cousin stealthily pulled her to the side, whipping out her phone and pointing frantically at the screen. In an instant, Liu Ruyan's face flushed a deep, sickly shade of crimson. She lifted her head, her gaze dripping with pure venomous hatred, and shrieked my name, Xiangyang. I met her gaze with an expression of total harmless innocence. "What's the matter? Is something wrong, Yi?" I flashed my pearly whites in the process, giving Liu Ruyan the most brilliant mocking smile I could muster. Blinded by a surge of frantic rage, Liu Ruyan hissed through gritted teeth, "Xiangyang, you'd better watch your back. I'm far from done with you. I'll see your pathetic ass in court." Hearing that, I barked out a call to the surrounding Liu clan vultures. "Lawyer Zhang Septitik, you've been standing there long enough, haven't you? Why don't you step up and say a few words in my defense?" The second I finished speaking, a man in a sharp business suit and spectacles stepped right up to me. He declared with absolute composure, "Zhang Yekun from Huacheng Law Firm. I represent my client in the asset dispute between the Liu family and Xiangyang. We are officially filing a lawsuit for the equitable division of all marital property. Here are the power of attorney documents and the formal contract. If any of you feel the need, you are more than welcome to review them." Liu Ruyan now looked as if she wanted to tear me limb from limb. "Have you completely lost your mind? Are you so desperate for cash that you've gone insane? Is that it? Well, what right do you think you have to touch my property? You see this, don't you, lawyer? If it weren't for our family's pity and past kindness, no one would even acknowledge a nobody like him. You're a smart man. Surely you can see the truth. Just look at him. He's dressed like a total pauper. Getting involved with a loser like this will only drag your reputation through the mud." I let out a sharp laugh and cut her off, radiating a sense of absolute calm. "Are you quite finished with your tantrum? Because now it's my turn to speak. I'll get straight to the point. I am officially instructing Mr. Zhang here to handle the case of Liu Ruyan's concealment and illegal transfer of marital assets as our lead legal representative for this upcoming litigation. Do you all finally understand the situation?" My former mother-in-law couldn't bear another second of this. She shrieked at the top of her lungs, "Shut your mouth. You think you can bully us? Do you think the Liu family is just some pushover? Exactly. Sis, don't let this loser intimidate you. Just give us the word right here, right now, and tell us which of his limbs you want us to snap." Muatio. A middle-aged man began to bark and bluster like a thug. However, the mother-in-law's face was already looking deathly pale. Even Liu Ruyan herself wore a grim, shadowy expression, and didn't dare to utter another single word. The rest of the Liu clan soon sensed the shift in the air, and one by one, they all chose to shut their traps. After all, they only showed up today to flex and act tough. If real trouble actually called for them to take action, they'd all be as quiet and submissive as tiny quails. Now it was my turn to point a finger at the whole clan as I spoke. I suggest all of you get the hell out of here immediately. What are you even doing here, causing a mess? Haven't you guys embarrassed yourselves enough already? You little brat. You. Clearly that middle-aged man felt his ego had been provoked. What about me? I'm talking to you, the one who does nothing but shout all day. All bark and absolutely no bite. That's the final straw. An old middle-aged woman was the first to lunge out of the pack, pointing a finger in my face while screaming a stream of insults. Suddenly, a sharp thunderous crack echoed. My sudden slap left the entire crowd paralyzed with shock. After delivering that blow to the old hag, I casually massaged my aching palm, clutching her stinging cheek. She glared at me with wide, stunned eyes and shrieked, "You arrogant, disrespectful little piece of trash," before she could even finish her sentence. An even louder, crisper slap rang out through the air. "What are you still chirping about over there? I've just calculated the cost for you one slap. Is 100,000 bucks enough for you? Make it 2 slaps, and I'll hand over 200,000 right now. Though you're always free to call the cops instead." At this moment, radiating an aura of lawless arrogance, it felt like I had undergone a total metamorphosis. That bone-deep confidence radiating from my soul didn't look like something a broke divorced loser should possess. But that is the sheer intoxicating power of money. You having money. 100,000 per slap, please. Stop acting like a big shot with your nose in the air. You're just making a fool of yourself. You aren't escaping the police station today, brat. After a few seconds of tense silence, the middle-aged man finally found his voice and roared, driven by the fact that it was his own wife who just got schooled. I let out a scoff and pulled out my phone, saying with utter impatience, "Unlock your phone right now. I'll scan your code and pay you on the spot. Remember, you're the one who asked for this. If you can actually pocket this much cash from just 2 slaps today, then I'll consider the matter settled on my end." You'll consider it settled. Keep acting tough while you still can. With a crisp ping of the notification, the transfer was completed instantly. Alipay has received a payment of 200,000 yuan. Liu Ruyan stared at me, her eyes widening in sheer disbelief. Actually, it wasn't just her. Every single person there was floored. 200,000 isn't just pocket change. They never imagined someone would actually drop that kind of cash just to settle a grudge. Alright, everyone get lost. The show is over, so disperse already. Haven't you embarrassed yourselves enough? After pocketing the 200,000 yuan, the middle-aged man still felt like he was in a surreal dream. Fine. Dear relatives and friends, here and now, I sincerely thank you all for coming to back up our Ruyan. But this isn't the place for a long discussion. I'll make sure to thank each of you properly later on. It's getting late, and you've all worked hard today. My ex-father-in-law, being a retired professor, valued his reputation above everything else. He had already lost massive face today, and desperately wanted this nightmare to end. Fine. We'll head back for now. We'll stay in touch over the phone. Don't you dare let this kid get the upper hand. With that, the Liu family scattered like a swarm of startled hornets. Liu Ruyan's mother hadn't uttered a single syllable this entire time. I knew exactly why she had suddenly turned into a mute. That old gambling addict deserves every bit of this. I've known for 3 years that this mother-in-law spent every day at the mahjong table. A gambling addict. Unless they lose a limb or go completely bankrupt, will never ever stop their downward spiral. Over the years, she didn't just blow through her husband's retirement funds. She used our names as collateral to rack up massive gambling debts. Our house was even transferred to her name a year ago. I had a massive blowout with Liu Ruyan back then, but the outcome was painfully obvious. I couldn't win against the combined force of her family, and the deed eventually ended up in my ex-mother-in-law's hands. Otherwise, I wouldn't have surrendered all our assets so easily. The truth is, I've been waiting for this exact day. I wanted to ensure Liu Ruyan's reputation was utterly incinerated. Not just a mental breakdown. I wanted to systematically dismantle this entire family financially. If they thought they could make me a cuckold for free, they were dead wrong. Liu Ruyan, at this moment, had reverted to her usual arrogant and defiant self. Shangyang, I think it's time we had a real heart-to-heart. In our relationship, she had always played the part of the haughty, untouchable swan, even when her life was in shambles. She refused to bow her supposedly noble head. I responded with nothing but cold indifference. Oh, what could we possibly have left to discuss? I seem to recall someone telling me never to contact them again. Liu Ruyan instantly erupted into a fit of rage. What is the meaning of those disgusting videos, though? I haven't even begun to settle that score with you yet. Don't think for a second that spreading rumors isn't a crime. You have severely violated my right to privacy. I immediately played dumb putting on a puzzled act. What videos? What on earth are you talking about? Seeing my shameless loser attitude, Liu Ruyan ground her teeth so hard they nearly shattered. You absolute piece of trash. I must have been blind back then to waste so many years of my life with a creature like you. If I knew you were this kind of lowlife, I would have preferred to stay single forever. She spat those words with such venomous resentment that I actually burst out laughing. Right, you're absolutely correct. You definitely picked the wrong man back then. But if you ask me, it wasn't just your eyes that failed you. Your planning was also incredibly sloppy. Since we were once husband and wife, we'll call. I sincerely advise you to keep that nonsense to yourself in public. Seriously, don't you dare go around spouting that garbage. Unless you want to become the laughingstock of the entire city. Your skin is truly thicker than the city walls, isn't it? You really are nothing but a shameless, delusional lunatic. Liu Ruyan opened her mouth to spit another wave of insults, but her father stepped in and unceremoniously dragged her away. Once he had shoved the mother and daughter into the safety of the car. My ex-father-in-law sauntered back toward me with a heavy gait. He lowered his voice and said, Xiaoxiang, you aren't too busy today, are you? How about coming back to the house with us? I think it's for the best if we settle everything face to face. I met his gaze with a flat, hollow response. I think I'll pass on that offer. Uncle, there's absolutely nothing left for us to talk about. We'll let the legal system handle the rest from here. I don't have the mental energy to waste on this drama anymore. You were a live-in son-in-law too. The misery and humiliation I've endured all these years. I know for a fact you witnessed every bit of it. As for exhausting what's left of our sentiments, I truly have nothing more to say. That one word, uncle, completely shattered the old man's illusions. Being a highly educated intellectual, he understood the situation more clearly than anyone. Persisting further was just a waste of breath. Fine. Xiaoxiang, over these past years, the Liu family we truly failed you. Whatever you decide to do from now on, just go for it. As of today, you are finally free. Before I could even respond to his apology, the old man turned away, his back hunched as he vanished. The next morning, while I was still deep in sleep, the jarring ring of my phone jolted me awake. It was a call from the local police department. After listening, I flashed a grim smile and told the officer, "Thank you so much, officer. I honestly had no idea this had happened yet." I immediately headed up to the station. The moment I arrived, I saw my ex-mother-in-law acting like a feral shrew, thrashing and rolling around on the floor. The female officer trying to reason with her looked utterly disgusted. You can only imagine just how revolting this old woman's behavior truly was. When my ex-father-in-law spotted me entering the room, he rushed over with tears streaming down his withered face and grabbed my sleeve with a desperate, trembling grip. "Xiaoxiang, please, you have to talk some sense into Rian. She's the only daughter I have left in this world." I stared back at him with cold, detached indifference. "Don't get your blood pressure up just yet. Go take a seat over there and stay out of the way." Then I turned my head and barked at the woman nearby. "Hey you, stop rolling around on the floor like a common street thug. My schedule is tight today, so if you have something to say, spit it out now." My ex-mother-in-law glared at my calm composure, her teeth gnashing in fury. "You cold-blooded monster. You've utterly ruined our entire family." Hearing that, I shot back with a thunderous, sharp rebuke. "What kind of absolute garbage are you spewing? How exactly does any of this have anything to do with me? I only came here to deliver a formal notice to your clan, just moments ago. The court officially accepted my lawsuit against you, so get ready to cough up the house, the car, and every single cent of those savings." I finished my piece and turned to leave immediately, without a single hint of hesitation or lingering regret. Seeing that her humiliating performance had failed, and realizing it didn't have the slightest impact on me, the old hag knew clinging to me was a lost cause. She suddenly lunged and grabbed the young policewoman's leg, howling out her desperate fake grievances. "Officer, please, you have to give me justice. This heartless brat is trying to drive us to our graves. My daughter's life is hanging by a thread today." The policewoman, left with no other choice, called out to stop me. "We asked you to come here today because we need your help to save a life. You should at least try to talk to your ex-wife. Saving a life is the greatest virtue one can have. Is there really nothing that can be settled through calm discussion?" This officer clearly had no clue about the sordid history behind this mess. Feeling a wave of weary frustration, I replied helplessly, "Fine. Since the law is asking so nicely, I guess I'll give it a shot. But don't blame me if my words don't work. By the way, do you happen to have a megaphone handy? The wind is howling up there, and I'd hate for her to miss a single word I have to say." Seeing that I had finally relented, the female officer looked immensely relieved, promptly handing me a megaphone without a second thought. None of them noticed the subtle, sinister flicker of amusement dancing across my face. Once that megaphone was firmly in my grip, my true performance officially began. "Honey, please don't do anything reckless. Our son and I have never held a grudge against you. Even if that boy isn't actually my own flesh and blood, throughout all these years, I have always cherished him as my very own. Those surveillance videos were leaked by someone with a malicious agenda. I mean, what kind of rational human being would install 360-degree cameras all over their private home?" Hearing my consoling words, my ex-mother-in-law stood there absolutely shell-shocked, staring at me in horror. She never imagined that even with her daughter threatening suicide, first, would actually dare to provoke Liu Ruyan with such explosive revelations. The old woman scrambled to her feet instantly, screeching at the top of her lungs, "Don't listen to a single word of this man's filthy lies. This bastard is trying to push my daughter off that ledge. Unfortunately, the wind on the rooftop was far too violent. Nobody could hear a single word of her frantic protest. Liu Ruyan, who had been keeping her back to me, suddenly spun around, glaring at me with a vacant, terrifying intensity. Her once beautiful eyes were now overflowing with pure, unadulterated venom. The entire Liu clan had conspired to hatch this desperate plan, thinking they could force Xiangyang into total submission. But they never expected that the formerly spineless, pathetic loser wouldn't fall for their manipulative trap for even a second. The situation had completely spiraled out of the Liu family's control, veering wildly away from the script they had carefully written. They could have brushed off the videos as deepfakes or clever edits. But now Xiangyang had exposed the truth about the child's paternity. In that moment, Liu Ruyan realized she had drastically miscalculated. It hadn't crossed her mind in her wildest dreams that I never had any intention of compromising from the very start. My objective had always been crystal clear: to destroy her soul and break her spirit entirely. I was going to uproot her life and leave her with nothing. And yet, while my voice sounded filled with righteous indignation and desperate pleas, the expression on my face remained as cold and biting as ice. Despite the distance of several stories between us, I could still clearly hear the explosive roar of the crowd below as the scandal unfolded. Seizing the moment, I cranked the volume and continued to bellow. I don't care if the kid isn't biologically mine, and I don't give a damn how many men you've slept with. All I want is for you to come back to my side. When you demanded a divorce, I begged you on my hands and knees to stay. I pleaded with every single elder in your family, hoping they would speak up on my behalf. But not one of them would listen to a word I said. Akit. Stop playing the victim up. Years of devotion couldn't even compete with your cheap thrills. Absolutely shameless. What a total disgrace. And she calls herself a teacher. People say that. True love is about sacrifice. You said you didn't love me anymore, that you craved your freedom. So I chose to grant you that wish. The car, sir, and the house, I left it all to you. I even let you keep full custody of the child. Everyone calls me a fool for doing it, but I know in my heart I'm no idiot. I just wanted you to have a better life after leaving me. But even after all that, you were still discarded and hurt by that deadbeat lover. Rian, I'm begging you, think of the child. Don't do anything reckless, please. I'm pleading with you. With that, I lowered the megaphone, smirking as I watched Liu Ruyan standing there paralyzed. Meanwhile, the crowd below erupted into a chaotic storm of gossip. You bastard! You absolute monster! My ex-mother-in-law shrieked at me. She looked like she wanted to skin me alive and feast on my flesh. In the end, they had utterly lost the war. The desperate suicide stunt the mother and daughter cooked up was completely dismantled by my little performance. Furthermore, in those few short minutes, I had successfully dumped 3 more buckets of filth. Straight onto Liu Ruyan's head. She was insatiably greedy. She was a serial cheater who tried to steal every marital asset. And the child this man had raised for years was actually some random bastard's seed. To top off the disgust, I framed her as a woman jumping only because her scumbag lover dumped her. Suddenly, a thunderous roar of ridicule exploded from below. Hearing the crowd's mockery, Liu Ruyan's face turned ghostly pale, and her entire body began to sway violently on the edge. By now, I was only a few measly steps away from her. Liu Ruyan gazed at the man she once shared a bed with, a wave of bitter realization flooding her soul. At this moment, my eyes held no trace of warmth or mercy. There was only cold-blooded apathy and an endless abyssal hatred. Suddenly, a violent gust of wind swept across the roof. Liu Ruyan, her frail 90-pound frame trembling, lost her balance. Then her legs simply gave way, right before the horrified eyes of the massive crowd. She plummeted straight off the edge of the building. She actually jumped. The onlookers below shrieked in absolute terror. I stared at the now empty hollow space on the rooftop, feeling a momentary lapse in my own composure. However, I snapped out of it almost instantly. That wench being alive was nothing but a permanent stain on my life. Several officers immediately swarmed the rooftop, but that young policewoman whirled around in a rage and grabbed me by the collar. You're not going anywhere. She was finally calming down until you showed up. It's because of your provocations that she lost control. Do you even hear the garbage coming out of your mouth? I stared at the officer with pure, unadulterated disbelief. What the hell does that have to do with me? She's the one who chose to take the leap. It's not like I physically shoved her off. Look. Upon hearing my cold rebuttal, the policewoman's eyes widened in shock. You are absolutely heartless. Let me tell you something, so if your wife dies today, you're going to be held fully responsible for this mess. That woman doesn't have a damn thing to do with me. We just finalized the papers this morning. I haven't even had the chance to file them away yet. Now move. I have better things to do. While we were locked in that tense standoff, the ambulance had already sped away from the scene. The building was only about 5 stories high, technically more like 4.5 levels. It wasn't a fatal height by any means, especially since the fire department had deployed an air cushion below. I figured there was an 80% chance the bitch was still breathing. My ex-mother-in-law was now completely catatonic, slumped on the ground in a heap of despair. She stared vacantly at the sky with dead hollow eyes, surrounded by a couple of weary-looking officers. My ex-father-in-law had already scrambled into the ambulance to the hospital. I knew deep down that this farce was actually just getting started. The viral scandal of Liu Ruyan's infidelity would likely reach its absolute peak of notoriety by tonight. I'm dying to see how she plans on keeping her job after this. Liu Ruyan might be shameless enough to pull these stunts, but a prestigious institution like Southeast University has standards. I bet they'll issue a notice claiming she was just a temporary worker to sever all ties with her as cleanly as possible. If you don't pull the weeds out by the roots, they'll just grow back stronger. Even a child understands that basic logic. And naturally, I understand it better than anyone. As for Liu Ruyan, her situation was utterly pathetic. Falling from 4.5 stories onto a rescue cushion, she managed to survive with her life intact. But a shattered leg was the inevitable price she had to pay. They say you might escape the death penalty, but you can't outrun the suffering of living with your crimes. The real torment for Liu Ruyan was the psychological trauma. She had zero clues on how to escape this self-made hell, especially with the university leaders already cornering her ward door. In the fleeting moment she plummeted from the roof, 20+ years of her life flashed before her eyes in a matter of seconds, spinning through her mind like a tragic revolving lantern. She had been born into a life of privilege. Her father was a respected professor, her mother a high-ranking executive at a state enterprise, and her sister was the golden child of the family. If it weren't for the appearance of that one man, Liu Ruyan's life would never have spiraled into this humiliating abyss. Even thinking of me, well, no amount of regret will change anything now. The man she dismissed as a harmless, honest guy for years had finally chosen to sever their ties once and for all. Teacher Liu, I realize bringing this up now seems incredibly cold-hearted, but I hope you can grasp the impossible position the school is in. The fallout from this scandal is simply too toxic. I'm sure you wouldn't want Southeast University's reputation to be utterly dragged through the mud because of this. Director Wang sighed heavily as he shut the door behind him. Liu Ruyan wasn't stupid. His consolation was clear. She knew exactly why he had shown up today. Your predicament that I understand, Director Wang. I'm the one who brought shame to the school, and I am prepared to accept whatever disciplinary action is necessary. Seeing Liu Ruyan being so unexpectedly reasonable, Director Wang's face actually flickered with a hint of surprise. This was a complete departure from the Liu Ruyan he thought he knew. Ruyan, when you first joined this faculty, how could you be so reckless? Forget it. There's no point in lecturing you anymore. I just hope you'll comply with the university's final decision. There are still urgent matters at the office, so I'll be taking my leave now. Just focus on your recovery. Take care, Director. The moment Director Wang left and she was finally alone, Liu Ruyan truly felt the bitter sting of how quickly the world turns its back on you. Meanwhile, having finally shaken off the swarming crowd of student onlookers, I stood on the street corner and lit a cigarette, carefully mapping out my next move in this chess game. Thinking it over, I realized I couldn't act too heartless just yet. It would totally clash with my carefully crafted pure love warrior persona. And so I put on my best acting mask and dialed my former father-in-law. Uncle, are you busy? What do you want? The old man's tone was noticeably icy, a far cry from Xiaoxiang. But that was only natural. No one is going to be friendly to the man who supposedly drove their daughter to leap off a roof. The old man was actually showing a lot of restraint. Uncle, I heard Ruyan accidentally fell from the building. Is the injury severe? Which hospital is she in right now? I need to go see her. After all, we were once husband and wife. The line went silent for a few heavy seconds, before the old man's raspy voice crackled through. Ruyan, she's out of critical danger, but her leg is badly fractured. She's at Linhai First People's Hospital. A broken leg, huh? In that case, I definitely have to pay her a visit. Which ward is she in? Inpatient department, 8th floor room 8012. Got it. I'll let you get back to it. I'm heading over there right now. I can't believe that wretched woman only walked away with one broken leg. I'm betting that in less than an hour, Liu Ruyan's hospital room is going to be packed with unwanted guests. A wicked, mischievous grin spread across my face. Once I arrived at the hospital, I made a beeline straight for Liu Ruyan's room. And just as I predicted, the moment I reached the door, the nurses had already bolted the door shut. But a massive restless horde was swarming outside. Dozens of them were lugging professional cameras, while others were frantically filming with their phones. In this era of viral self-media, everyone thinks they're a god-tier streamer. Liu Ruyan is officially globally infamous now. But for me, this is the ultimate windfall. My next move is to weaponize Liu Ruyan's toxic reputation. The more her name is dragged through the dirt, the greater my rewards will become. Excuse me, coming through, please? My voice was instantly swallowed by the roaring waves of noise, forcing me to bellow at the top of my lungs. Everyone clear a path. I'm Liu Ruyan's ex-husband here to visit the patient. Whoosh. Every single pair of eyes in the 8th floor corridor locked onto me. including the nurses stationed at the duty desk. The legendary ex-husband has returned to the battlefield. Listen up, my stream viewers. What was she? The real show is finally about to start. The pure love warrior actually showed up. Guys, can you even believe this? I'm literally crying right now, hearing these colorful, chaotic shouts. My forehead was practically covered in black lines of annoyance. What kind of circus have I walked into? In an instant, the crowd lunged toward me like a pack of wolves. Thankfully, hospital security arrived just in time to maintain order. After an exhausting struggle through the sea of bodies, I finally squeezed into Liu Ruyan's hospital room, but the second I pushed the door open, I froze in shock. Liu Ruyan stared at me with a face twisted in pure agony, and then she completely lost control of her bladder. I'm dead serious, she actually wet herself. Right at the moment, I breached the room. The once cowering, deathly silent Liu Ruyan was so traumatized by the sudden intrusion that her body gave out. A stream of yellowish liquid began trickling down her hospital trousers. Her pristine patient gown was instantly stained and soaked, and accompanied by a shriek that could rival the highest soprano notes of Jesse Norman. Liu Ruyan's legs turned to jelly as she collapsed into a dead faint on the floor. When humans are plunged into a state of absolute paralyzing terror, they often lose consciousness involuntarily. It's not a physical illness, it's a total mental breakdown. It's simply the human brain triggering a self-protection mechanism. It was painfully obvious. Liu Ruyan, a woman obsessed with her pristine image, was now exposed in the most repulsive way possible before the cameras. It's no wonder her mind just checked out. Click, click, click. The vultures outside were like flies swarming around fresh roadkill, frantically snapping photos of the carnage. Even I felt tempted to mark her tragic downfall by sketching a cross over my heart and whispering a mocking, "Amen, this time she is truly beyond saving." But after savoring the schadenfreude, the show had to go on. The very second after Liu Ruyan hit the deck, I lunged forward like a concerned hero, scooping her limp body into my arms. As for why I didn't shield her the instant she fell, the official excuse is that I was paralyzed with shock. My brain just couldn't process the situation. But the unofficial truth is far simpler. I purely wanted Liu Ruyan's humiliating, undignified state to be immortalized in as many high-res photos as possible. My smirk was harder to suppress than the recoil of an AK, leaving my facial muscles locked in a bizarre, twisted state. I was dying to laugh, but forced to hold it back, all while struggling to maintain a mask of deep concern. It was pure psychological torture. Just as I was striking a dramatic pose for the reporters, the security guards barged in at the worst possible time. They didn't just clear the room of the clicking cameras. They slammed the door shut right in the crowd's face. Once I was certain the hallway was finally purged, I tossed Liu Ruyan back onto the floor with total disgust. With a gaze as cold as a blizzard, I looked down at her and spat. Cut the act. The audience is gone. Isn't the floor getting a bit chilly? Xiangyang, do you really want me dead that badly? Oh, you finally caught on, didn't you? Since the cat is out of the bag, I'll say it loud and clear. I want to watch your world burn until there's nothing left. Every waking second I'm dreaming of your... Thinking it in your head and hearing it out loud are two different pains. Even though Liu Ruyan knew I despised her, she never imagined my hatred had reached such a lethal degree, as our poisonous words hung in the air. My ex-father-in-law and a nurse suddenly rushed in. I instantly pivoted back to a mask of agonizing heartbreak, ignoring Liu Ruyan's desperate attempts to push me away. I forced my way through and hoisted her onto the hospital bed. Throughout the entire ordeal, Liu Ruyan resisted like a caged beast, but her struggling was utterly futile. Get the hell away from me. If you touch me one more time, I'll end my life right in front of you. Oh, Ruyan, eek. Your leg is already shattered to pieces. Why must you still be so stubborn and willful? The doctor explicitly warned Ikisho Chet that you mustn't move around. The old man. His lips quivered for a fleeting moment, yet he remained completely silent. Liu Ruyan's face flushed a deep, humiliated crimson. As she lay trapped on the bed, "Here, have some fruit. I know my presence is the last thing you want to see. I'll be taking my leave now." Exiting the ward, I headed straight back to my own place. Exhausted from the day's chaos, I showered and crashed instantly. The next morning at 5 o'clock, sleep eluded me completely. Restless, I drove to my son's kindergarten, waiting like a predator to intercept the boy who isn't my flesh and blood. Humans aren't made of stone. We aren't devoid of feelings. Even though the ex-mother-in-law had basically monopolized him ever since he was born, I had still played the role of his father. For several years, I held no malice toward the child. The only one at fault was his shameless, disgraceful mother. There was a breakfast stall right next to the school, so I grabbed a quick bite to pass the time. After finishing my meal, seeing that it was still quite early, I wandered aimlessly around the block for 30 minutes. Hesitation began to gnaw at my gut. The kid might not share my DNA, but I was the one he called Papa with his very first breath. Was I being an absolute monster by going through with this? Slap slap, realizing my mindset was getting dangerously weak. I ruthlessly delivered 2 stinging blows to my own face. You pathetic spineless idiot. I've been wearing a green hat this entire time, and the son I cherished is just another man's mistake. In a situation like this, the fact that I haven't grabbed a blade to settle the score with the entire Liu family is an act of supreme mercy. And yet, here I am actually feeling a spark of pity. If that isn't the height of stupidity, I don't know what is. Shaking off those pathetic, unrealistic feelings of pity, my gaze hardened into something sharp and unwavering. I whipped out my phone and dialed Yang Hai, the king of viral live streaming. Hey, are you awake yet? Mr. Xiang? What's so urgent this early in the morning? Yang Hai was still buried under his covers, squinting through bleary eyes at the time on his screen, only to realize it wasn't even 7 o'clock yet. Though he was cursing me out in his head, his voice remained perfectly polite and professional. He had no choice. After all, the man disturbing his sleep was his biggest meal ticket. Quickly arrange for 2 of your low-tier unknown streamers to get down to Shanghai Kindergarten. Shanghai Kindergarten was considered a high-end establishment, though that prestige was mostly reflected in the exorbitant tuition. Just follow the GPS and get here. Can you get them here within the hour? I'm in a serious rush. School starts at 8 sharp, and if we miss that window, this masterpiece of a show won't go on. I can find the people for you, sure, but what exactly are you planning at this hour? You'll find out once they arrive. I don't have time to explain the details now, okay? Alright, Mr. Xiang, just give me half an hour, and they'll definitely be on site. Yang Hai promised with absolute confidence, even if the 2 he sent would likely want to slap him for the early wake-up call. Puffing on a cigarette, I endured a grueling 50-minute wait before spotting 2 shady-looking characters in the sea of parents. One had hair dyed a hideous shade of dark green, while the other was caked in makeup so thick it looked like a mask. They stood out like massive glowing neon lights, practically radiating absurdity in the middle of the crowd. I could barely bring myself to look at these 2 freaks. Previously, Yang Hai had already forwarded their contact info to me. As for the game plan, I had sent them a full breakdown via text. Now all that was left was to wait for Liu Ruyan's mother and the kid. The clock was ticking toward 8, after what felt like an eternity. I finally spotted the old hag clutching Yuan Yuan's hand, shuffling sluggishly through the crowd toward the entrance. A 4-year-old child is the definition of innocence, so the moment he spotted me from a distance, Yuan Yuan instantly broke free from his grandmother's grasp and lunged toward me, throwing himself into my arms. Daddy Yuan Yuan missed you so much. Hey there, champ. Daddy missed you too, so. Then give me a big hug and lift me up high. This was the same little soul I'd held since the day he was born. To say my heart wasn't aching would be a total lie. Staring into the eyes of this blissfully unaware child, I felt a sharp, bitter sting in the bridge of my nose. I forced a smile and hoisted him high above my head. This scene of raw, genuine emotion was already being captured by those 2 weirdos hiding in the crowd, who were broadcasting every second of it live. At 8 in the morning, there weren't many viewers in the stream at first, but you can never underestimate the speed of a bored internet mob. The news spread like wildfire person to person, multiplying exponentially by the second. In no time, the viewer count for both streams surged past 1,000, hitting 4 figures effortlessly. They didn't even need to pay for traffic. People were flooding in just to get a glimpse of the chaos. Uni Professor cheats with fitness coach. That title was already clickbait gold on its own. But when you add the series of explosive scandals that followed, like the dramatic rooftop suicide attempt, and the revelation that the kid isn't even the husband's, it becomes an absolute magnet for attention. And now with a dedicated live stream following the fallout of this entire mess in real time, it was exactly what the gossip-hungry public craved. The comment section was already a battlefield of opinions, with 2 sides clashing and arguing relentlessly, launching the stream to the top of the trending charts in Linhai City. User Guguji commented, "Raising a kid like that is a waste of time. You'll end up with no money and no legacy, just left to starve and rot." User Frequent Human Voice added, "Agreed. There's a guy in my neighborhood just like that, except he actually chose to adopt his kid. Now that he's old, his life is absolutely miserable." User Little Princess countered, You guys are just talking trash. The kid is so young if he loses his dad. It would be heartbreaking. Besides, even without a blood relation, does that mean they aren't family anymore? User drink hot water shot back. If there's zero blood relation, then they aren't family period. And since when is he fatherless anyway? Doesn't his biological father still exist somewhere? I bet you're just like that cheating teacher, looking for some sucker to take the fall, right? Okay. User Little Princess replied, in your dreams, incel. The moment those words hit the screen, the live stream devolved into a chaotic verbal war. The gender divide online is already a powder keg, and with instigators fanning the flames of the discourse, the two factions clashed with absolute fury, unintentionally driving the stream's metrics through the roof. Meanwhile, I was fully immersed in my role, tearfully hugging Yuan Yuan. The army of parents dropping off their kids suddenly noticed me standing out like a sore thumb in the crowd. Wait, isn't that the pure love warrior from the news? Is his kid actually enrolled in our kindergarten? A mother dressed in flashy designer clothes began whispering the juicy gossip to her friend nearby. I think so. I'm pretty sure he's in the same class as my kid. Tisk, tisk, tisk. That poor little boy is so pitiful. Modern kindergartens place a huge emphasis on parent-child bonding. So parents are constantly showing up for various school events. After enough of these meetups, everyone has a general idea of who their child's classmates are. The kid's nickname is Yuan Yuan, right? While I was pouring my heart into this performance, my ex-mother-in-law realized the boy had bolted from her side. She spotted me almost immediately. Surprisingly, the old hag didn't try to stop our reunion. Having spent years working in a state-owned enterprise, she had climbed the ranks to a mid-level management position. The old woman actually possessed a cunning brain. To be perfectly honest, she was secretly terrified of the man I had become. The mere thought of the high-powered lawyer I hired sent shivers of anxiety down her spine. With her mountain of crippling gambling debts, if this little animal managed to seize half the house and car, her life would be effectively over. Now her only shred of hope lay with her precious grandson, praying that I still felt some paternal lingering affection, and wouldn't drive her into absolute ruin. Even as I played and laughed with the child, my eyes kept darting toward my former mother-in-law. I noticed the old bat was acting incredibly suspicious, lingering in the distance instead of approaching us, to start a screaming match, or attempt to snatch the child away. I could see through her pathetic little scheme in an instant. Since the old bat refused to come to me, I decided to take the fight to her. There's an old saying, isn't there? If the mountain won't come to Muhammad, then Muhammad must go to the mountain. So clutching the boy's hand, I marched toward that old hag, my mind already racing with a ruthless plan. I absolutely cannot mention taking the child with me. Otherwise, she'll jump at the chance to exploit the situation, and dump the entire burden of his care onto my shoulders. As I reached the old woman, I struck first with a calculated verbal blow. You old fossil. I'm telling you for the absolute last time. Don't you dare use this child to blackmail me. Not in a million years will I give you 200,000. I wouldn't even give you 2 cents. This tactic worked like a charm. The nosy crowd immediately began to close in around us. I glanced at my blindsided ex-mother-in-law, a faint sinister smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. If there's no drama for the cameras, I'll just manufacture some out of thin air. After all, nobody here knows the actual truth. What are you babbling about, you little brat only? What, 200,000? Stop acting. Keep acting, go ahead, yes sir. Which shameless piece of trash was it that called me yesterday afternoon, demanding 200,000 in exchange for the kid? Listen, I suggest you find a shred of conscience. The boy is still so young, yet you're treating him like a bargaining chip. Who in their right mind would ever trust leaving a child in the hands of someone like you? After that rapid-fire barrage of accusations exploded from my mouth, the old woman stood there completely dumbfounded. However, she quickly realized what was happening. I was ruthlessly dragging her name through the mud. Unfortunately for her, even a quick realization was far too late. There's an ancient proverb, he who strikes first wins, while he who hesitates suffers the consequences. People always side with the first story they hear. My ex-mother-in-law was reaching her breaking point, driven mad by my talent for blatant fabrication, leaving her utterly defenseless and unable to justify herself. Who would even take her side at this point? Her own daughter was the one who cheated first. I've already seized the moral high ground. This is what they call a perfectly justified crusade. When did I ever demand 200,000 from you? Don't believe a word he says. This little animal is nothing but a pathological liar. Unfortunately for her, we've reached the point of no return. No matter how much she rants and raves, the expressions of the onlookers remain icy and unmoved. That's the brutal power of a first impression, seeing every piece of the puzzle fall perfectly into place. I twisted the knife further with a chilling mocking sneer. Mukuiling it. I'm laying it all out on the table right now. I will find a way to take back custody of my son. As for the car and the house, I'll use the legal system to reclaim every cent I'm owed. Your pathetic attempts to hide assets won't save you or your daughter. Stop living in your delusional fantasy world And here is my final warning to you. Yuan Yuan will never be raised by a degenerate gambler. All that money you squandered on your debts, before this divorce was even a thought, you know damn well how much I paid to bail you out. You should have kept a better tally. Don't even dream of trying to blackmail me ever again. Completely crushed and rendered speechless, my ex-mother-in-law could only gape at me in powerless frustration. She desperately wanted to fire back, but the words died in her throat before she could utter a sound.